Hi, my name is Jacinda Montano, and I'm a mother of 4. I'm very family-oriented. We do a lot of quality experiences for our kids. We take them camping, we go wake surfing, we go on vacations. And the one thing, though, I try to make sure I do every day is give them a home-cooked meal. So I do love cooking, and we sit around the table every night and chat about our day and kind of check in. When I'm with my kids and my family, I'm 100% with them. I try to be 100% with whatever I do. So we play hard, but we also work hard. So when I'm working, I am working. And I've been doing this for 17 years now. I built my business very organically. It's all about word of mouth and great experiences and reputation. So over the years, I've tried to just give my clients the very best closing costs, the very best rates, and the very best experience in communicating with them. And because of that, they call me back and return to me. It grew, and actually surprised me that in 2020, I became the second largest producing female broker in the state of Utah. I started Ultima Home Lending so that we can provide a uniform client experience and have the technology to support us as loan officers and to support you as a realtor, which allows you to print a pre-qual letter at 2 in the morning all on your own. We provide low closing costs, low rates, but then also that expertise and support that not every brokerage can offer you. We created this summit because we wanted our realtors to be the best in the state. And we hope that as you've gone through the day that you have been able to take things home that can improve your business and make your client's experience even better. We want to thank you for supporting this and coming to this summit.
It means so much to be with you guys today, and we saved the best for last, just joking. I'm going to have my associate Oscar help me with this session because he's English, and what we found is that Americans actually like listening to an Englishman. In fact, when oh look, she's so excited. Wendy, when she read Oscar, she got flushed and started like, wow, he's great. And I told you, Wendy is the non-sexy part, and you get the sexy part. So here's the sexy part. But he was an underwriter with a credit. Yeah, I know. So he was an underwriter with. So he was an underwriter with a credit union. We brought him over. He's fantastic. I'm so glad to have him with me. We actually wanted to title this section, I know on the agenda, it's a really long, boring title. And what we actually wanted to call it is Shift Happens, right? Shift happens, right? We know that things have changed. So if you guys can cue our PowerPoint, please. That's great. That's great. So here are the things we're going to hit. Go ahead, Oscar.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking. Can everybody hear me? We good?
Yeah. Sorry. Wendy, do you want to come up and do this? Shoot. Okay, Oscar.
Okay, good, sweet. Okay, so we're going to be talking about some super fun things today. So we're going to be talking about the federal funds rate, what's been going on with interest rates, inflation, recessions, home values, and different things like that. So
is anyone asleep yet?
Yeah. So, lots of different things that that you probably don't encounter every day as a real estate agent. So just to kick it off, and we'd love to get your opinions. Why on earth do you think that we're talking about this with you guys? So why is it important for you all to understand these elements and the market as a whole?
As a realtor. Why do you need this? Because it affects our job. Affects your job, yes. Why else? Educator clients. You guys are the first ones they're talking to, right? And oh my goodness. So Ashley's like, the media gets it wrong. Okay, has anyone found that to be true? Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Oh. Except channel 2. That's apparently one you want to watch. Okay.
Yeah, so how many of you have had clients that have asked them what's going on with the market? Like with the raising hands? Anybody? Yeah, quite a few of you. I'm sure all of them, you know, it's hopefully you guys.
What's going on with home values, right? You're asking what's going to go on with rates. So these are all things we're going to talk about.
So to hop straight into one that I'm sure you guys have heard quite a few times. So again, raising hands. How many times have you had a client that said to you, "Freak, we got to get under contract, we got to lock, the Fed's raising rates tomorrow, and they're raising it by like 0.75%, and that's going to completely screw up my interest rate." And
Raise your hands. Raise your
you guys
hands.
have that? Right.
No, I'm surprised it's not more.
Okay.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, we get it all the time. So, first of all, the Fed is not raising mortgage interest rates. They do not have the ability to affect mortgage interest rates in that degree. What they're affecting is called the federal funds rate, and we're gonna dive into that. So
Yeah, they say, hey, and this is what's going to differentiate you between every realtor out there. Okay, the Fed raising rates. I'm going to make sure you know this when you go out this door. Does not mean they're raising mortgage rates. Okay, please make sure you got this. Okay, it will differentiate you. So what it means is they're raising short-term rates. Okay, what are short-term rates? Anyone know? Fast. Credit cards, car loans. Yes. What'd you say? Personal loans. HELOCs actually is affected by this. Those are the things that they're raising because they are trying right now to get inflation under control.
yeah. So what they're doing is by raising and lowering rates, and there's a lot of minutia that goes into that. But basically, it's their lever. We actually we do this motion when we talk about the Fed all the time. So if we're out
we don't want to semi to hunker more.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is
We were talking about the lever that they're using there.
What they're doing is they're using this lever that they have in order to stimulate or slow down the economy. So, just a question out there to you guys as well. We're talking about when the Fed raises rates, right, that it's affecting your credit card bills, car loans, it's raising those interest rates. So, how would the Fed use changing those rates, raising or lowering those rates, stimulate or slow down the economy? You guys have any ideas? Spend less, right? How do you slow down an economy? You have less money going into the economy, right? Because every person's spending is another person's income, which means as people spend less, the economy is doing less. The GDP is dropping. So by raising, let's say you have a $300 a month credit card payment, and suddenly it's $400. That's $100 less that you're going out and spending in the economy, and that builds on and on. It's businesses as well as consumers, but the knock-on effect, or the domino effect is...
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, he said knock-on, I'm like, what is knock-on? He's like, not some of the next thing. I'm like, oh, Americans call this domino effect, just so you know. So I'm like, when we're called domino, I'm not going to know what you mean by knock-on.
Yeah, she's also my translator. So, I start speaking tongues up there. So that's, that is the lever that they pull. So when you hear the Fed is raising rates, like for instance, we just had the Fed meeting, like 2 days ago. And they raised the rates another 0.75 basis points. What they're doing is raising those short-term rates to try and slow down the economy further. Because we've had we're in a situation where we need it to come down. So we're gonna show, run through an example of the Fed doing this, of stimulating and slowing down the economy. No, so basically back in 2020, fun time, right? You guys all there? Anybody just woke up from a 3-year coma? No? Okay, alright. So then all of you remember how much fun that was. And, for those who just started a small business or there were lots of people that lost their jobs, we were all wearing masks, it was a great time. But the economy just went down the toilet, really. People weren't spending. And so what did the Fed do in order to try and stimulate the economy?
Yeah, so if you notice, this little drop you see there, that's the federal funds rate, right? So we're in a technically recession. The Fed's main big maneuver, we're gonna go to the lever, they take the rate from here, they brought it all the way down to 0, right? I have people like, oh, I heard my mortgage is 0 now, right? No, it worked that way. But they brought it down to 0, and that puts a huge stimulus into the economy because now it's a lot easier to borrow money, right? When it didn't matter how much the house price is, because the rate was so low, it was still affordable, right? So them dropping that rate, fantastic. They put a huge injection into the economy to get us out of the recession, and it was a very fast recession. It wasn't that long.
Exactly. So I'm sure down with the drop in rates, as we talked about, there's a short-term rates.
Do you mind if I take this one?
Yeah, go for it.
He's so young. I don't know if he remembers. Like, I remember further back than 2020, and when I would go and get a new car off the lot, which I've never done because of this year. What do they say? Do you increase your money like when you drive a new car off the lot, or does it go down? It's 100%. You just lost money. It's a depreciating asset, right? That's just a given. So. Then what happened in 2020, and after that, after they stimulated the economy, and they had tons of stimulation going on, what I actually know personally 2 people who went and bought a new car, drove it for like 6 months, came back, turned it in, made money, what? And then got a new car, drove that for 6 months, turned it in, made more money. Has this ever happened? I mean, no. As long as I've been alive, that has never happened. That's why you can say that part. It's never happened, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what's that fun thing called? Like when, what she just explained?
Inflation.
Inflation, right? That super fun thing that showed up and the Fed needed to change gears. So basically, we suddenly have an issue where we're down at 0% interest rates for the federal funds rate, and then this great ugly beast rears its head, right? So inflation, what it is, and how they track it, is basically, picture going to Walmart and you come up with your shopping trolley and you've got your rotisserie chicken in there, your TV and the burger, or whatever.
For trolley, he means shopping cart.
And you're gonna get to the checkout and how much that costs, right? And they're gonna track that same basket of goods, they call it a basket of goods, across the year. It's a year over year. So they'll see, okay, you bought these basket of goods in August of 2021 cost this. Today, in August 2022, it costs this. This is the inflation that's happened between then and now, and that's how they track it. And it's gotten insane. So, let's go forward. This is kind of we'll keep going.
So, how many thinks inflation is something we should always avoid? Should we always avoid inflation? Anyone think that's true? Only one person can do it. Yeah. Is resistance training good for us as humans? Is it good to kind of have a low resistance? It's the same thing for an economy. Having about 2% inflation is actually what they shoot for. It incentivizes people to go out and spend money because it's going to be cheaper today than it is tomorrow. I honestly feel like Costco took this idea because I'm a Costco freak, and I'm like, we're shopping, and I'm like, oh, I did get this. I was like, we don't have a partner, man. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be here tomorrow. We gotta get it. I hate when I go back to get it and then it's off sale or so. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that anymore. That's the same kind of idea. With inflation, it incentivizes you, it motivates you to go out and spend some money.
Exactly. So, as we said, the Fed aims for a bit of inflation. They aim for about 2%. But it's not higher than that recently. So, as you can see, kind of leading up, we've been, somewhere in that area, of around 2% over the past years. And we have seen it just skyrocket, right? So it says 8.5 is where it was at, but June it went even further above that. We actually hit 9.1 year-over-year inflation, the headline inflation, which is awesome.
That was sarcasm, just I don't want to interpret it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, why is it? Okay, why do we care? Okay, alright, so why do we care? So why are mortgage rates like, okay, it sucks that chicken's more expensive. That's a bummer, you know? It sucks that you go to McDonald's and you feel like you go to Ruth's Chris. You know, that's a bummer, right? But what does that have to do with mortgages? And this is what it has to do with mortgages. So,
I want you to burn this image into your brain, okay? Those of you who can't see, or who doesn't know Harry Potter, which I don't know if you're American, you know Harry Potter? Oh, he's English. Anyway, so Voldemort is inflation, okay? I want you to picture Voldemort inflation, Harry Potter, mortgage rates. Voldemort, deadly to mortgage rates, okay? A lot of people think, oh, the Fed's funds rate's going up, that's why mortgage rates are going up. No, mortgage rates have gone up because inflation went up, okay? Different story, right? So, arch enemy, I want you to make sure when you walk out that door, you will never forget that inflation is the arch enemy to mortgage rates. That's what causes them to go up. Do we have an inflation problem right now?
Yes.
Yes. Do we have a rate problem right now?
Yes.
Yes. Do we need to get our inflation down?
Yes.
And they will, and so mortgage rates will go down, right? We see that coming, just hopefully sooner than later, before the 7th book. Okay. Of course, you're on the 9th book.
oh, okay.
I've lived forever. I'm telling you, I hope it's not that kind of way.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So this is one thing. There's this thing called transitory inflation. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you want to talk about why mortgage rates hate inflation so much?
Go ahead. You do.
Okay. All right. So just picture this as an investment strategy, right? Let's say you're like picture you as the person who's lending on a home, right? You're gonna give someone $500,000, and you're gonna get like a 3% rate of return, right? You're gonna get 3% back, right? It's awesome, except when inflation's at 8%, does that sound like a great investment anymore? Not so much, right? That's a really crappy investment, right? And that's the main reason why inflation is such a killer, right? Because your money is being worth less. When borrowers are paying back lenders funds from their mortgage payments, suddenly that money they're giving back to them is worth less, right? So what they have to do is offset some of that inflation with interest rates. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, the next slide, please.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is what happened. Has anyone heard of transitory inflation? Like, there was this term, this buzzword. I bet you 90% of the people did not know what they meant. They said it's just transitory, it's just temporary, right? So what happened is in 2020, we had negative inflation. That's crazy, but that's what happened. And so when they measure inflation, it's a rolling 12-month period, okay? So out of 2021, we're having these numbers in 2020 that are negative dropping off. And guess what happened to the average? Pops up. We just lost a negative inflation, average pops up. So they're like, yes, inflation went up, of course. We just had negative inflation come off. It's gonna go up, but it's just, once all that negative inflation comes off, we're gonna be good, right? So they didn't do anything. So then they get next month, inflation drops off, inflation's going higher, didn't do anything. And it's like, everything's fine here. And then, go back to slide. They had a little problem. Inflation's a big problem, and they need to take massive action right away. So I kind of liken this to driving down the freeway in the fast lane, and you're going 70 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you're like, gosh, I should have been over, but I didn't. And all of a sudden you're ready to pass your exit, right? Hopefully this has never happened to any of you. I will not admit that happened to me before. You're like, oh shit, that's my exit. And so now you're like ripping across all these lanes of traffic. Not your best move, right? Very dangerous for everyone on the freeway. And that's a little bit like what they're doing right now. So they're like, we should have been increasing these rates a long time ago, gently moving this economy so we can start taking down this inflation. But they kept saying it was transitory, so they took no action, okay? Now, you're seeing every Fed meeting, they are raising that as fast and as hard and as high as they can because of one reason. Anyone want to guess why they're trying to get that up so high, so fast? election. Wow, I was warned not to talk any politics. Anyone, besides the election, any other reason, we want to get that as fast, as high as we can. Think about it, they need to be able to have a lever, right? If we're at 0, and where are we heading? Anyone know? Starts with an R? Recession. Oh my goodness, we're heading into recession. So, how do we get out of recession? Remember what happened they did in 2020? What did they do?
Drop the rate.
Drop the rates to 0, right? Get us out of recession. So if we're heading to recession, this is the exit they see. Recession's here. Rates are 0. Oh shit. Is that okay if I say shit? Okay. Have we got a word? Okay. I don't think there's an English word. I can do it. Nobody's heard here. Okay. So they're 0. They got nothing. Their biggest tool is out of the box. They cannot help us out of recession. Does you guys see why those veterans rates need to go up? And they have to go fast. So when you're hearing these Fed rate hikes, we're all rolling our eyes like, great, even more expensive for our money, but we need it. Because we need that tool in our tool belt.
Yeah, exactly. We can see here, so the gray bars on this chart right here show every single time there's been a recession. And so you can see every single time you see the Fed dropping those interest rates in order to stimulate the economy back out of the recession. So every single time. And that's why we gotta get it up, as Dwight does. So what's causing this inflation? Well, there's a bunch of really fun stuff that's caused this perfect storm here. So again, if you just look up for a coma, we had this pandemic thing. It was from COVID-19, so there was a whole bunch of knock-on effects that came from that.
Domino effect, sorry.
Domino effect. From with the supply chain, with just lots of different things added to it. And there was a ton of government stimulus, so there was a lot of checks that went out, a lot of companies received government stimulus, and then a little bit more government stimulus, because we just kept going.
The first time I did that, we had so much fun. Everyone was invited to the party, so like, why not do it?
Yeah, exactly. Keep on rolling. And then there was the unfortunate war of Russia's invasion on Ukraine, which had a big effect with the oil industry, particularly in Europe, but as well here in the United States. And as we're in a global supply chain, as inflation increases in other areas, we feel that here as well. And then there's additional supply chain issues. I remember being in California and seeing about 50 freighters on the sea just sitting in the docks because they didn't have the manpower to get goods off the ship, and that makes things more expensive, right, as the goods expire, and as well, as oil prices increase, the cost to transport increases, and so that pushes on inflation as well. And then we've got this one as well.
Yeah, this is my favorite. So there's maybe you've heard the student loan payoff, right? When they announced that, guess how much rates jumped up in like 3 days, 2 period of time? Like 0.75. Just that one policy action. So the problem is that the Fed has one tool, that's the one tool they got. The chart, the lever, right? And if you don't have policies that also support getting us into out of inflation, then people are not going to, like these Fed rate hikes, they're supposed to be looked at as, okay, they're trying to get inflation under control. And sometimes it actually helps mortgage rates go down. When the Fed hikes the rates, mortgage rates usually go down. If they don't feel like they've got a handle on inflation, it's not going to bring those rates down. Because that inflation they got to feel like there's confidence in that. So it's really important that the policymakers create policies that support getting us out of inflation, like lowering that inflation, and not pour gasoline on an inflation fire. So that one was a fun one when that came off.
Yeah. Well, this became is like the perfect storm of why inflation's out where it's at right now. So what we're experiencing right now is something, or like moving into experiencing right now, is something called stagflation. So have you guys heard of that term before?
Raise your hand for stagflation.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's raise your hand. Who actually, raise your hand if you know what stagflation means. Okay, well great, we're going to tell you. All right.
So stagflation was an economist thought they were incredibly intelligent by meshing two words and thinking they're a genius, but basically it means, so it's stagnant, stagnant, and then inflation. So basically it's when we're in a situation where we're leading into a recession, but inflation is still incredibly high. So we experienced this back in the 70s. Well, I didn't, but some people experienced this back in the 70s. So with a lot of spending around the time.
He's 14. I don't know if you guys know that.
Double it. There was a lot of government spending at that time. It was the same time as the Vietnam War, and there was a lot of other programs and things going on. But anyway, it's when there are recessionary indicators. So GDP, which is gross domestic product, is basically how much spending is going into the economy. When unemployment is rising and demand is falling, but inflation is still high. So
one of the things that actually helps us, the reason why the government is actually trying to get us into a recession, is because it helps inflation go down, right? So what you can see on the first three is a recession, but inflation's still high. So it's like we're in a recession, but numbers are going up. It's not what we want. That's what stagflation means.
Yeah. So the one thing on this, right, is that unemployment is not very high right now. It does show before a recession though. It does show that unemployment hits its lowest point before it starts to rise, and we have seen a bit of an uptick. Yeah, from July to.
I think what it means is like the unemployment will hit its lowest point and then ticks up, and when you see that, recession. Right there. So unemployment is a lagging measure of recession, and you can see lowest point just ticked up for entering recession.
Yeah. And so how is this affecting mortgage rates? Well, we're in the sixes right now, which is awesome. So when were we here before? So we were here before. Anybody know when this was?
Well, first of all, raise the hands if you guys remember having a mortgage in the sixes. I do. Okay, good.
Keep going.
7?
Keep going.
7.25? Yeah. Keep going. What's your highest rate?
11 and a
11.
half.
I
18.
was excited for you guys to go that.
18.
18.
Wow. That makes 2.75 pretty much it. But yeah, so this was during the 2008 financial crisis when it was like this, which we'll dig into it. But we're in a very different situation in our economy right now. But it's been a while since we've been that high, but we have been.
I'm curious, who was a realtor? Sorry, I got a lesson on how to spell say realtor. Who was a realtor in 2008? Wasn't that so fun? I got into the business in 2005, and it was really hard to learn the business. You had to know how to check someone's heartbeat. You had to make sure that you didn't have to make sure they had a job. So that was about it. You know what I mean? I was like, this is really easy to be a loan officer. I can check and make sure they're alive. You know what I mean? It's changed a lot since then, but we're kind of back there. But the rates back in 2008, actually we'll go on to the other side.
Okay, cool. So recessions, right? We've had that word a lot, right? That that's kind of where the direction's been heading. So let's talk about that. So recession is a slowdown of the economy, right? That's what it is. When we start, heading into an economic slump, right? So really funny. I'll let you go for it.
Okay, so the definition of recession, this is how they define it since the beginning that they defined it. Anyone know the answer? 2/4 of what? Negative GDP. And what GDP means is, thank you, gross domestic product. So 2 negative quarters of gross domestic product officially puts us in recession. Unless the people that are in charge say, we don't really want the people to know we're in a recession, so we're just going to redefine what recession is. And now we're not in a recession. Isn't that cool? I just want to be like Webster right now. Like, I want to be the definition reader. I would define what word rates are and just make them down. It's great. So, some people say we're in a recession. Some people say we're not, that's why, because they redefine what recession is.
Yeah, and oftentimes they actually cite, the lower unemployment as an example of what
Yeah,
is not a recession. But again, as we talked about, that the lowest point of unemployment generally is right before the recession. So that's another strong example. Like, I'm a finance major, and we talked about this like a bajillion times in classes years ago. But one of like the main things that they use to be able to indicate a recession is what's called the inverted yield curve. So
Anyone heard of an inverted yield curve?
yeah.
If you do any kind of finance, like, oh, yield curve's inverted, and they're like, we're in a recession, you know what I mean? And most people don't know what that means, so we're gonna have Oscar tell us.
Okay, cool. So basically, okay, finance 101. The very first thing you learn is higher risk, higher reward, right? Anybody heard that phrase before, right? Generally, if there's a higher risk, aka if your borrower has like a 600 credit score, they're gonna have a higher interest rate than somebody who's got like a 780, right? Because the lender, there's more risk involved, right? So my CD, by the way, you're all realtors, we're talking about like a bank CD, not like closing this loan, but like, picture like a CD, right? If you go into a bank and you say, okay, what's your rate for like a 6-month CD and what's your rate for like a 2-year CD? The 2-year rate is going to be higher than the 6-month, right? That's what it's going to be. So an inverted yield curve is one for bonds when the short term has a higher rate of return than the long term. So basically you could get a 2-year treasury bond that has a higher yield than a 10-year, right? That is a sick economy. That is meaning that it is not working out like it should be. So we are in a situation, so right now, so this shows a graph of the 10-year minus the 2-year, right? So when the 2 is higher than the 10-year, then it's going to be negative, meaning that it's going to fall below this black line. This black line is 0. So you can see gray bars, a recession. Every time, right now, every time there's a recession, you can see it dip right below the inverted yield curve. And what do you guys see right at the end of the chart?
Are we above or below?
Below. There we go. Recession. Very good. Actually, I probably shouldn't say that in such a anyway, keep going.
So I guess this is the question, everyone's burning question. What's going to happen to home values? I guess, what about home values, right? And because we're in new waters, I want you to understand all the components, because I don't want you to go out of here and just know the answer today, but I want you to be able to know, like, okay, I know what's going on in the economy, and now you know what's going to happen in 5 years from now. Like, in 5 years from now, when someone asks you what is going to happen to home value, you're like, well, I know because of this. You know what I mean? I want to teach you forever, right? So there is, I usually have a pretty good crystal ball. However, there's a few things that's happened recently that's never happened before. And we are in new waters. So we can always learn from the past, but I think we're in new waters. So there's some things we can learn from history, but I want you to kind of keep in mind a few items. So first of all, this is historically, home values actually stay very stable during recessions, historically. There is one exception to this. There's a recession that isn't the case. Does anyone want to guess what that was? 2008. Oh, someone was alive in 2008. That's awesome. Yes. So 2008. Sorry.
No,
you were alive in 2008.
I put it on the screen.
Oh, there you go. Oh, you were so smart. I can't believe it. So the 2008 was different. There was a housing bubble. Okay. I want you to tell you, like in 2008, we had a little problem. So usually people are going in and buying homes when they're about 30 years old. We call them housing formations, right? They're getting married, they're having kids, they want a house. In 2008, the 30-year-olds, flashback, was the time of Roe versus Wade. And what happened to the birth rate is it went way down, okay? So flash forward 30 years later, they're building homes like normal, and there's no housing formations. The people don't exist. They're not there to buy the homes. So that was a housing bubble not any demand, tons of inventory. How was 2021? Did we have a lot of demand? Yes, we did. I've never seen anything like the crazy that we've been through. Anyone else? I mean, I've been in a long time, but I've never seen crazy like it was last year. It was insane. So the reverse was true. So flash forward 30 years prior, there was an explosion of birth rate, okay? We have so many people that need a home and not enough inventory. I think you guys know that that's true. Do you think that's changed? No. Even though we're not buying homes, that has not changed. So, although I think that house values will fall, and the reason I think they'll fall is because we had some crazy appreciation. Does anyone want to guess what across the nation, how much appreciation did we have across the nation last year? Anyone want to guess? Guesses? 27? 20%? Anyone else? 28? Those are all good guesses. We had 22% appreciation in 1 year. It is by far, not even close, the most appreciation we've had since the inception of measuring. Okay? If we're having this much, we spiked up so fast and so much, do you think that an immediate recession following it, that there might be a little difference, like home prices might not be as stable as it has previously? We're probably going to lose some of that value. I think you're seeing that right now. But I think, this is my crystal ball, so this is just coming from me, take it for what it's worth. I think home prices will fall, but only to a certain point, because that demand is still there. And this is a key point for you to get your clients off the fence, because if you want to go back to your client and say, hey, would you like to buy homes like the way it was in 2021, or do you actually want to buy the home you want and actually you can actually look at the house before you have to put an offer in? Yeah, wouldn't that be great? So what I loved Craig this morning, and I think he said something so brilliant. Marry the house, date the rate, right? Marry the house, date the rate. So I tell my clients all the time, like, get the house you want for the price you want, right? And then when recession comes down, we're gonna have an awesome opportunity to refinance you and get your payment where you need to be. But it's really hard to get into that house when you're competing with more people, and that will happen. This is not 2008. Everyone's recent memory is 2008, so we're like, oh, I can't wait till everything goes on foreclosure. Not gonna happen, not gonna happen. So be the expert and advise your clients why it's not gonna happen. I just give you all the information you need to convince them that this is how it is. I mean, that's the trajectory we're on.
Yeah. So, we've talked about a lot of different things here, and running through different parts of the economy. And the main reason why is because these principles, knowing how the Fed works, how rates work, how inflation works, all those things, are going to apply in every kind of economy, right? And so that you'll understand the workings of the market now, in 5 years, and 10 years from now. Ray Dalio, have any of you guys heard of him before? Yeah, nice. Jay, cool. Ray Dalio is genius. So he's like one of the most successful hedge fund managers out there. So he has an awesome video called How the Economic Machine Works. It's like 30 minutes. I recommend having just sitting down watching it. It's really
Also popcorn.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Get your family together.
I made every one of my loan officers watch this. And I did this because I'm telling you, first of all, if you start watching the video, you won't be able to be pulled away. It is so interesting. And he does an amazing job of taking something very complex and breaking it down that even your teenagers can understand it. I have my teenagers watch this. I think if you saw this 10 times, you still learn something every time you watch it. I promise you. Put your phone away too, because I'm telling you, you have to pay attention.
Yeah.
You too. If you just Google Ray Dalio, how the economic machine works, it will be there. And I promise, give yourself a favor. Like, some people take their phones to the bathroom, it's kind of gross, but they do. And watch, so I swear, there's people that are in the bathroom forever and just enjoying it. You know what I mean? And they're watching Ray Dalio. So please, try that experience. It's awesome. Try that. Okay.
Yeah. But he runs through all the different cogs and it's awesome. But basically, what the Fed is trying to do right now is lower inflation. That's what they're doing with their lever. There's more that needs to happen. There's till we come out of it because we're not over it just yet. But that's what's in the works. That's what's trying to happen. But you need to have an understanding of what is going on with the economy, so that when you have a borrower come to you and say, "What the heck is going on?" you'd be like, "This is what's going on," and give them. And first of all, it will give you so much. It will give you so much to your credentials as a financial advisor there for them, and giving them the information that they need so that they trust you with their home buying. So let's wrap it up because I'm sure you guys have been taking naps. So basically, let's do a quick summary of kind of what we've gone through today. So number one, the Fed is not raising mortgage rates when they hike the federal funds rate. What they're doing is they're trying to curb inflation, cut down inflation. They're trying to slow the economy down because more money being chucked out into the market and less supply is what raises prices of goods. So that's what they're trying to do. So inflation is the main cause of mortgage rates. There's other things that are at play as well, for sure, but inflation is inflation's vulnerable. That's what you guys just need to remember about this.
So they're raising the fund rates for 2 reasons. Does anyone know the 2 reasons? They have to increase that rate for 2 reasons. Who knows? Inflation.
Election.
And what did they say?
Election.
Election. I can't say that word because I promised I would. Okay. Inflation and get us out of recession. We've got to get the inflation under control, and they've got to have some way to help us get out of recession, or else it's going to be a real long road ride, right?
Exactly. And then indicators show that we are already in, or depending on your asking, will be in a recession by all the main economic indicators. And then last of all, just understanding what has happened in the past with home values. But then you need to understand that we are in new waters. Never in the history of forever have home values appreciated to the scale that we have recently. And so understanding this is what's happened in history, but we are in new waters.
Okay, well, anyone have any questions for us? We got one in the back. And we got a mic printer. And then we have one right here too. And so we get a mic to her as well. We have time for probably 2 questions.
So you guys said that in 2021, the appreciation went up to 22%.
Oh, guys, yes.
What do you guys know, or, I mean, I don't know if you know, but what do you guys predict that is going to be the percentage of a price adjustment in Utah?
So this is again personal opinion, okay? This is just me, so take it for what it's worth. But statistically speaking, typically when you see financial trends, you lose half of appreciation, right? It usually goes half. So my guess is we're going to lose 10% of value before we start seeing those markets pick up again. That's just my opinion. Any questions for yours?
Long term, it will.
Yes. Their house is still going to appreciate. So again, it doesn't hurt to get into the house that you want.
So do you guys have do you have this information that you publicly share on a regular basis?
Welcome to
what's
Summit.
happening?
Welcome to Summit, guys. This is so awesome. What do you mean, like
On their website or something just showing, because, they've been telling us all day to keep up to date and be knowledgeable about the market and what to tell our clients, but I'm just looking for the way to do that,
Yes, I am so glad you asked. I would suggest you get an ultimate home lending loan officer. I do training with my loan officers every single week, keeping them up to date on their markets so that they can keep you up to date. So we don't have anything publicly that we put out there. Good suggestion, we'll take a look at that. It's a great suggestion.
Market in a minute.
Oh, yes, you're right. I forgot about that. If anyone wants the market in the minute, we actually do send you an email every single week anyone that's on our list of people, that you get a summary of what's happened that week in the industry. And also, you can play the video or you can just read it. So it's just 1 minute long, but it keeps you up to date every single week. So, being with the Ultimate Home Lending Loan Officer. Here is some contact information for us. Email is info@ultimatehomelending.com. It is kind of long, so I also have an alias of info@uhlending.com. If you want to do that. And that's our company phone number right there.
Cool.
Can you guys give a hand to Oscar? He did great.